Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. That is our radio station, and we are so happy to be with you. We're not sure if we're live or not. Here we go. We're live now. So I want to welcome you guys to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. That is our radio station. You're listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of the Going Solo and Going Bold. This particular show is called Going Solo GoodReads Author's Corner. And yes, you get to meet the author. So we're really happy about that. I am Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationship Building, and I want to thank you for joining us here today. Well, this is one of my very favorite shows. I love meeting the authors. We were just talking about that prior to the show starting, all the energy, the wonderful positive energy that we have. And we have a wonderful guest with us here today. We're going to talk about self-esteem. Self-esteem is so important because it really is something that is internal. It's something that we share from within. And it is so important to have. And we have one of our wonderful guests here today, Clarissa Burt, and I'm so pleased to have her. She's the author of the wonderful Self-Esteem Regime, and we are so happy to have her. She's a public speaker. She has a terrific magazine that we're going to be talking about too, and so we've got a lot to talk about today. So thank you so much for joining us, Clarissa.
It is really cool to be here. Thank you so much. I just wanted to let you know also that when I lived in Italy, I was there for 30 years. My nickname was Cece. So everybody, it's the Cece and Cece show.
I love that. I love that.
I don't know how I got the name, but it was a lot of fun. And so I went by Cece, with friends and with my friends, and and so there you go.
So you were there for how many years? You were in Italy?
I got over there in 1983 for my modeling career, which then turned to movies and then turned Italian television. But I was there for almost 30 years, about 29 and a half years, and loved every minute of it. And I came home to the States about almost 20 years ago. So do the math. Don't do the math. Please don't do the math. don't do the math, everybody. But so, and that was a great time. And I do get, I get back about once a year to Italy, which is really good. And in the meantime, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. And yes, it's very hot right now.
Yes, it certainly is hot there. I know I'm from Florida, and so it's warm here for us too. Yeah. But you have this great book, and now we can find the book on Amazon. Am I correct?
You can find the book on the shelves in Barnes & Noble, which is really cool. It's been there for 2.5 years, which is really, I pinch myself. It was one of my crowning moments. And, to be sandwiched in between Brene Brown and Dr. Deepak Chopra, for me, is like, I walk in, I see my book, I pinch myself. But it's in Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. And, it's a kind of book that I call it's a manual. But really, for me, Cece, it's a mission and a movement. It's about making everybody feel, good about themselves, living in happy, healthy self-esteem, and especially in the times that we're living in now. So, I think there's an awful lot of people that are depressed. In fact, I know this to be true, depressed and anxious. We've got a national, if not a global, mental health crisis going on. Our kids are really, feeling a lot of the brunt of that. And so I do whatever I can almost every day to get on here and talk about just how important happy, healthy self-esteem is.
Mm-hmm. And, we struggle with that a great deal. In our particular station here, we have a lot of individuals that are going through relationship loss, traveling through that. Yep. A lot of are going through rejection, feeling a tremendous sense of not knowing where they're at, where they're going to go. And so that really attacks our self-esteem.
Yeah. Well, they say rejection is redirection. It doesn't make the pain any less. Rejection is rejection and it hurts, but it usually comes from, let's call it the universe, or from divine or source, or from God, whatever you believe in. Right, it's a sign that you need to be going in another direction. And it's painful. It's very painful, but and you have to sort of factor rejection in during the lifetime that you live. So it's a shame, but it's life.
Yeah. Although I really, since I'm on the other side of it, right? I've gone down the hill, right? And I'm built back up again. I
Yep.
can honestly say that, I would not be here today if it wasn't for what I went through in my past. And so sometimes when we're going through some of those struggles in life, I feel like we have to look from within and understand that, there's a purpose in our lives, and where we're going to is
Indeed.
something that we're hoping and praying that's going to be far better than where we came from. And
I
so,
couldn't have written a book about self-esteem when I was 20. You're absolutely right. I
mhm.
was not ready. I wasn't prepared. Life hadn't taught me. I didn't have the wherewithal, the end withal to be able to stand here, and talk about self-esteem the way I do. I talk about self-esteem from my personal experience, basically. And, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. That's somebody else's job. But what I can do is come on and talk about, the 12 different steps in my book that I think are, it's changing lives one chapter at a time, starting with release. And that's really the hardest work of all, Cece, is, when all the things you think are written in stone that, you were taught, and it was kind of shoved down your throat, that really isn't serving you. It's not your greater good, right? It's not your best you. So undoing some of that is going to take some work. And then the next chapter is rebuild. So now you're on ground zero, and you get to create, the blueprint for the life that you want to lead. And yes, it will take a little bit of time.
I love that. I really do love that, because now it's your choice, right? So you can live your life the way you want to live it. And so, you don't have to look at rules or whatever. We can just grab it for the good, and just move forward. And I often say, you'll hear me say it all the time. I always say, God will open the door, but I got to climb through the window instead.
Very
I got to
good.
make my life a lot harder than what it really is.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really, and I think too, a lot of that is maybe a bruised self-esteem, not really feeling my self-worth, being able to go through that door boldly and accept the path that is before me. And
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about that. When someone's talking about self-esteem, let's give them the kind of the definition of what self-esteem is, because some people don't really know.
Right. Well, self-esteem, first of all, it's where you have to decide if you're going to conform or if you're going to transform. And so that's really, I think, where the rubber hits the road. Happy, healthy self-esteem is something that, it's our perception of self, and it's how we treat ourselves and how we will allow others to treat us. Right. So it's about also creating boundaries. A lot of people have difficulty with the word boundaries, or creating those boundaries, because they don't want to get other people upset. And people will, during this, the work that you will do on your own, living your best life, you may get some noses out of joint, and that's just to be, put in, to be expected, right? And so, but I think really it's also important for us to understand, to have happy, healthy self-esteem, that it really is our sacred duty, right? It's the reverence and respect that we have for ourselves, right? That makes us want to have a good relationship with ourselves, and know ourselves and love ourselves. And that way we can be a better person for everyone else. I talk about the pillars of self-esteem, which are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. And so if you take it into those bite-sized pieces, you'll understand exactly, how it is you can start to transform, right? How it is you can start to change the things that you're not necessarily, like, I don't wake up every day, and, even though I've written a book about it, I don't wake up every day and have healthy self-esteem, because self-esteem ebbs and flows. Self-esteem doesn't discriminate. It's one of those kinds of things that, as we are a progression, we are a work, we are an evolution, we are constantly a work in progress. And so knowing that kind of helps also with your self-esteem, and giving yourself the grace that you need to grow, because to undo the things you think that and to put into practice the work you need to do is it'll take a minute, but boy, is it worth it at the end of the day.
Right, right. Yeah, you can tell when you're with someone that has worked on themselves, someone that, they tend to be a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more assured, of their step in life, and that type of thing, and what they want, and where they want to go. And so, yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
Well, here, give a woman a compliment and see how she reacts. See how she reacts. If you say, about 90% of women, if you are not comfortable when you say, "Oh, you look so beautiful," to describe themselves, they just don't feel comfort with that. You know, about 85% of adults are not happy with their appearance or their body. You know, I mean, if you were constantly finding those things that about ourselves that we're unhappy with, but we very rarely give ourselves a pat on the back for the things that we are accomplishing that we are happy with. And so this is where the book comes really in handy, because each chapter lives as a microcosm, and each microcosm is going to teach you what you need to know in that chapter. So let's say it is the release chapter. There's case studies, affirmations, there's a review, there's Clarissa's Corner, there's the daily demons, there's all the different, you know, journaling, all the things you're going to do in order to really sit with yourself and work it out. It's also a reason, Cece, why many people, and I'm going to go with 99% of these people are women, are in abusive relationships. You know, low self-esteem is the cause of most addictions. Yes, I know that there's some genetic reasoning behind it as well, but low self-esteem is really connected in a big way to addiction. You know, I'm talking about alcohol and drugs, certainly, but there's all kinds of different things that we can talk about when you've got, you know, low self-esteem. You know, how are you feeling about yourself? Do you think you're good enough? Are you constantly comparing yourself to someone else? And that brings me to one other thing quickly, and that is, you know, we hear often and frequently, I am enough, you are enough, we are enough, we're everybody's enough. Well, I took it upon myself one day to take a look at the, you know, to read the description or the definition of enough. And it is only as much as is required. Enough is only as much as is required. So just by definition, the word enough isn't enough, because I know, you know, Cece, I am so much more than enough, as are you and anyone else listening. So be very careful about the subconscious. Be careful what you're feeding it, because it's going to believe you. And in this case, I would say that semantics it's very important to get that word just right. So again, the new mantra is, I am so much more than enough. And you keep telling yourself that, you will see the changes that start to happen in your positive changes in your life.
Oh, I love that. I definitely do love that. And you know, and you do hear that a lot about, you know, I am enough, but we are more than enough. Absolutely.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're continuously evolving. So, I mean, whatever I've always said it too, it's like whatever we were yesterday, we're certainly not that today. And we're not going to be anywhere near that tomorrow, because we're going to be, you know, moving forward in a very positive way. I like what you said too about boundaries, setting boundaries for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think we do that enough.
Yeah, that's really, really important. And I think one of the biggest boundaries that you know, one of the most important boundaries that I set in place for myself was the toxic stops here. I'm going, you know, obviously, you know, this is not about family bashing, parent bashing. We don't do that here. We don't believe in that. But what we do believe in is saying, everybody that, you know, my parents learned from their parents, learned from their parents, and learned from their parents. So what came to, you know, to my existence when I was a child was what they knew at the time, because parenting doesn't come with a manual or, you know, an instruction booklet, right? It just doesn't. So whatever was and whatever is, I want to thank them for. I learned from it. Kind of was difficult sometimes, but I definitely learned from it. I couldn't have written this book if I had not gone through what I went through. And what I promised myself is that I will be a better person tomorrow than I am today, no matter what that means. It could be whatever that is, right? Whatever I catch myself sometimes, if, you know, life will trigger you, Cece, we all know, right? So there are going to be things that are coming along. And, you know, you have to be able to get that new set of tools in the shed that you will garner, you will accrue along the way when you're doing the personal development work, when you're reading books like mine, when you're taking courses, classes, when you're, you know, whatever it is, meetup groups, but you have to put into motion, like anything else. You want the change, you have to do the work. So yeah. The other thing is, you know, when we talk about self-esteem, Cece, we often talk about, you know, especially with kids now today on social media, you know, they're comparing themselves a lot to what you know, their peers and their friends and celebrities and the like. So it's really all about perception. When you say the grass is greener on the other side, well, Cece, is the grass really greener on the other side, or is the grass greener where you water it? You know, where you're taking care of business, you know, is that where it's greener? And the second thing that I say around that is it really grass or is it astroturf?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, is it really grass that there has to be cured and watered and seeded and fertilized, or is it fake?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about this. But I also want to broaden it because I want to talk about what you're doing with your magazine and all of those things. I mean, you are an amazing, remarkable woman. And it is so wonderful to have you on the show here today. But before we do that, I want to make sure that everyone knows the name of the book, The Self-Esteem Regime. And you can get it at Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful. And you can get it right at Barnes and Noble. You can get it on Amazon, Audible, it's Audible, right? You can do it on Audible.
Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.
Yeah, so wonderful. And then also you can reach out to Clarissa at CLARISSA at ClarissaBurt.com, ClarissaBurt.com. And so you can go ahead and reach out to her. Let her know that you saw her on the show today. Go get her book because I think it's a great book to put in your toolbox, And I often say you got to feed your well. You got to read. You need to read at least 15 minutes every day, something good, positive that's going to change your life. And so this is a wonderful book to be able to do that with. So I'm very excited about it. I think it's definitely going to help. I do believe help individuals one chapter at a time. So I hope everyone will run out and get the book today. So we'll be right back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what you're doing with the magazine, all of the other things with regards to self-esteem, and I'm excited about the second half of the show. So if you missed the first half, you got to go back and listen to it, and we are excited about all we're bringing to you today. So we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Well, welcome back. Now, you saw in our commercial that we do have a Roku channel now. So just go to New Streaming TV and download our app. We would hope that you would do that. You can catch us both there on video and on Audible. So we have the shows up there too. So we hope that you will join us there. So we're excited about all the progress that New Streaming Network is making on home of Going Solo and Going Bold. Today we are on Going Solo GoodReads Author's Corner. We're meeting our wonderful author here today, and we're talking about self-esteem with Clarissa Burt. And thank you so much for joining us here on the second half of the show. First half of the show, we talked a little bit about self-esteem, and very powerful, very informative. And so I want to thank you so much, Clarissa, for sharing with us. And I do want to touch on your magazine here some in the thing, but is there anything else regarding the book that you want to make sure that we touch on?
I think the really important other part of the book is, apart from the fact that there are exercises in the book that are going to help you, one of the exercises in there is mirror therapy. And so I learned a bit from Louise Hay, Jack Canfield's, Chicken Soup for the Soul, uses it in his works. And so I thought it'd be really important to have it in my book as well. And it's it's one of the most impactful exercises that I think you'll ever do, because when you get into a mirror and you start talking to yourself, you're going to think you're crazy. I promise you're not, but it's kind of, there are two ways to approach a mirror. One is to look in the mirror when you're, preening, and then there's looking into the mirror when you're screening. And so the screening part is when you're really sitting down talking to yourself. And when you look at your eyes are looking into your eyes, it gets into your soul. And so it's an impactful way when you start talking to yourself and you become your own rah-rah session. Some people are going to have a hard time with it in the beginning, but I promise you, if you press through, it's going to be some of the most important and impactful work you'll ever do. And the other thing, Cece, is to make sure that you have your value system in place. A lot of people don't know what really a value system is. They go, what is that? Well, let's see. Here's what I chose. I take the high road. And the high road is honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And so that is my life's blueprint. I know that that's exactly who I bring to the table on any given day. With any relationship, I will sit down and you can bet your bottom dollar that you may like what I have to say. You may not like what I have to say. You may not even like the way I say it, but I will always be honest with you. And that's something that I think is really lacking today, the honesty aspect. Can you imagine if we woke up tomorrow morning, Cece, and everybody in the world was honest? Like honest, radically honest. Could you imagine the world we'd be living in?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I really think that it's important that we really go back to, to the value system and make sure that that is something that's the hill that we're ready to die on. And I am ready to die on that hill. I will be honest with you. You will get full on integrity. I'm grateful for everything, even the bad experiences, the negative experiences, and honor is just, honor thy neighbor, honor thy parents. Anyway, I could be here all day because I'm very passionate about this subject, but here we are. Go ahead. Thanks for the question.
I love it. I really do love it. And I think integrity is when people aren't even looking and you have integrity, right?
Exactly.
So often,
who are you? No one else is in the room.
Right. Absolutely. And then really, if you have to, like when we're setting our boundaries, if you got to draw that line in the sand, you got to draw that line in the sand. If it's not good for you, you just have to be honest about it. And this isn't working for me, and you've got to move forward and find out what is going to work for you. So I think I love the idea, what you said, you need to really think about your values, because I think when we're coming from a relationship loss, we're stepping forward into a new life. So we need to reevaluate what's important to us and our value system.
It's your life's blueprint. And it really kind of makes it easier to roll out when you get really clear about what your value system is, and you go, wait a minute, no, I said I wouldn't do that. I can't do that. Right. There's a quick story that I have about being on a reality show and in a helicopter, and we weren't, we're not allowed to eat, but the girls in the back got some food and they offered it to me. And now no one else would have known that I had eaten. We were starving on the island. I was on Survivor. And so the girls they were passing me food. And I said, oh, geez, no, thanks. Now, there was only them and I would have known that I would have accepted that food. But I knew that it was against the rules. It wasn't fair to everyone else that hadn't eaten for weeks. and I just couldn't do it. It was dishonest. So again, just, even when you think no one else is looking, are you still doing the right thing?
Right. Absolutely. I think it's terrific. I think our self-esteem is truly important, and it's something that I don't believe we think about enough, and we don't nurture it enough, because we have to do that. We definitely have to nurture our self-esteem and be very clear about what it is that we want, and who we are, and how we want to walk this world. Because we don't really think about that enough. So it is wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your magazine, because we got a little bit more time. And I know it's something you're rolling out. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows about it, so that maybe we can contribute to it, we can purchase it, and all of that stuff.
Is that the magazine you're talking about? So I have a media group in the Limelight Media. Again, we are, video, podcast, digital magazine. And so the digital magazine, I have just the copy of it here. So that's the summer edition. And we really are talking to, you can get it at, clarissaburt.com/magazine. And you can see it there. It's really, we are mostly entrepreneurial women between the ages of 35 and 65. We do go by the look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. It's sectioned out in the magazine. And any woman that has a product or service that helps you look better, feel better, be better, or live your greater good. And greater good usually means charities. And so this is where we give space at no cost to 501c3s and charities and benefits and things, things where the community is helping the community. And so, and I love it. I've been doing the magazine for 3.5 years, I think now. Had to take a little bit of time off, but we're back on track, getting ready now for the fall edition, but we just dropped last week the summer edition. So go have a read. I think you'll enjoy, some of the things that are in there. We've got, there's all kinds of everything. I mean, economics, art, food, business. It's all encompassing. And I love doing the graphic part of it.
Yeah, that sounds so cool. Now, where can we find it? Where can we get it at?
clarissaburt.com/magazine. It's right there it's a digital magazine. So you'll find it right there on my website. And it's a beautiful flip through. And I think we're at 16 pages this time. It was one of the smaller editions, but it's a good edition. It's really pretty.
Yeah, I think it's very nice. So I'm going to put up your website again here. So Clarissa Burt, ClarissabUrt
Yes, that's correct.
So that's where you'll go and get the magazine. So make sure that you do that. And if you're interested in being in the magazine, those out there that are listening, we've got a lot of people that are, in their own business and things like that. They're trying to head up. If you want to be in the magazine, reach out to Clarissa and find out, if it's something that you might want to do.
Thanks for that. Yeah, we're always looking for good articles. Absolutely. Yeah, articles or even advertising. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was really great. Well, you've done a lot of things in your lifetime. I mean, you have
I've been around a long time, Cece.
Okay.
People say, "Oh my God, you've done so much." Well, I'm old.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. But our self-esteem tells us we have got a lot more to go, right?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, we do.
But you've been a model. Tell us some of the things that you have accomplished in your life.
Well, I modeled. I was in New York City at Wilhelmina in 1980. At that point, I was sent to Paris and then to Italy. I stayed in Europe for about 30 years. I did work on most of the most extraordinary runways all across the world. I came home with something like 250 magazine covers of different kinds, whether it be fashion or television, and so it was a fabulous run. Living in Italy for 30 years wasn't that tough either. So I think about 28 of those 30 I was in Italy. I go back to Italy frequently. I do speak fluent Italian, and I'm also an Italian citizen, although I have not a drop of Italian in me, but I am an Italian citizen. Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, you are a delight, an absolute delight. So anything else you want to share about your book, The Self-Esteem?
I really think that, to get through the book, again, it's bite-sized. You're not going to read about self-esteem. You're going to do self-esteem. This is a manual. Again, for me, it's a mission and a movement, but you're going to pick up the book. You're going to read the first chapter. And I think, if you'd allow me, Cece, what I would really like to do is just to read real quick, because I think that you'll understand. So let me see where it is. Here we go. I'd like to acknowledge the millions of people all over the world who have been abandoned, abused, beaten, hidden, struck, oppressed, depressed, distressed, held back, lied to, cheated on, lost, betrayed, deceived, misled, double-crossed, walked out on, stabbed in the back, sold down the river, stolen from, deserted, discarded, shunned, cast out, dropped, dumped, forgotten, neglected, rejected, and/or dejected. You are the sole reason I have written this book. So I think all of us are in there somewhere, Cece. Everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all in there somewhere, right? And so it's on us, as I said before. It's our sacred duty to ourselves to do the work on self-improvement, on self-awareness, self-confidence, self-esteem, personal development. When I was a kid, Cece, there were three, bookstores. It was Border Books, Walden Books, and Barnes and Noble. And in the very back, somewhere back in the corner there was a section called Self-Help. And you might have been able to find 40, 50 books back in the day. Again, this is computers, pre-internet. Yes, I told you I was old. And so this is pre all of that. And that was where you would go for your solace, for assistance, for understanding, for help, for guidance, for just to get out of whatever it was, the muck you were in, right? That's where you would go. Now, the only bookstore that's left is Barnes and Noble. And in the personal development section goes on, and it rows and rows and rows. It's $1 billion industry now. So back to the point that, we are always, we are a work in progress. And these are the resources that are there to guide us along the way, while we're doing the work.
Right. So I really do think that you have to immerse yourself into it. So take one chapter at a time, read the chapter, and then do the activities and things like that in it.
That's exactly right.
To really immerse yourself. And honestly, I think it's for both men and women, because we all of us as human beings have self-esteem issues.
Why is the cover of my book blue?
Is it for men?
You'll see that it's 3 iterations of blue, the triangles. Yeah. When it first came back from the publisher in New York City, it was pink, orange, and yellow. And it was beautiful. And it really would have jumped off the shelves, right? It really was a beautiful cover. And once you hand the manuscript to a publisher, especially in New York City, that's it. You're done. I've never talked to them. I've had an agent in between. And I called my agent. I said, Gary, can you please do me a favor? Can you please ask them to change those colors to blue? And he goes, I go, please, Gary, just try. And they did. And I said, because I want men to pick it up. When I dropped the book last year in Italy, because I was back to drop the book in Italian, half of the room, everywhere I went, were men. And it really warmed my heart because, again, as I said, self-esteem doesn't discriminate. And it's every age, it's every creed, it's men and women, it's all of us. No, I don't think anybody gets out of this lifetime unscathed, right? Every one of us is going to go through problems with, feeling good about ourselves at times. And then people say, well, what about narcissism? Narcissism is another chapter. It's another show, and it's the complete opposite. It is the total lack of self-esteem. So that's another chapter, another, show.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally agree. And I'm very proud to say we have a tremendous amount of men that listen to our shows. And I'm very, very proud of that because I think for guys to listen and to really absorb some of the content that we share here on the channel, it's really a compliment. So I'm very pleased with that. So yeah. So we're really neck and neck.
When you're out and people say, oh, there's nothing in the dating world. Well, if you're not coming to the table complete, Cece, if you're a problem in your relationship, and if you're having trouble, men need to be doing this as well. They need to do the work so that they come to the table complete. Nobody wants to be in a relationship and taking care of somebody else's issues and problems. They want, they're going to become complete, having done the work. It's going to serve you better, and you'll be serving others better as well. It's going to serve the relationship better.
Right. Absolutely. Because that's what you're striving for. If you are looking for a partner in life, you're looking for a solid relationship. So you can't have that if you don't both work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have to do the work. Absolutely. Now, I think this is a great book. I really do. I encourage everyone to go out and get it. I encourage everyone to go on your website, clarissaburt.com, check it out, get the magazine, start really immersing yourself into your own self-esteem. It's really building yourself up. And so we can't do it for you. We can only give you some assistance and some guidance. And I think the book, the Self-Esteem Regime, is definitely the answer. So you want to definitely get that. So, and again, I mean, it's in really the only bookstore in town, right? The Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
No, I never thought we would say that. I never thought we would say that. I wonder if we can get this in the library. I wonder if it's at the library.
Oh, it's in all the libraries. The publisher at the very beginning had said that, they had a conference with all the librarians. I think they do that once a year. And so it was already picked up by the libraries first out and straight out the gate, which was really exciting.
Oh, that's very nice.
It's my book it's Florey award-winning international bestseller. So I'm really, I tell you, Cece, I say it because I think it's a great book, first off, and I continually pinch myself. How is this even possible? But and that's another really important part is if not you, who? A lot of people go, I could never. Who do I think I am? Well, I could never. Well, what are you telling yourself? Yourself subconscious. If you continue to say that, so start saying, I really could. Yeah, I really could. And the other thing is I'd like to leave you guys with before is, if you don't come from a healthy family, and a lot of us didn't come from a healthy family, right? Make sure that a healthy family comes from you. And that is going to mean getting in touch with your inner child. And you're probably going to have to reparent yourself. So take what you learned, good, bad, and indifferent, and use that to your advantage. I think that is one of the, the greatest things that I can leave you with.
Oh, good advice. Good advice.
Yeah. And remember also, as we walk through life, loyalty is something I think is extremely important. And loyalty is when I have your back behind your back. So I'm not talking about you behind your back. I'm not dishing you behind your back. I'm not betraying you behind your back. I'm not lying to you to your face or behind your back. So be really mindful when you're creating that value system, that one of the things you promise to yourself and to others that you will not do is lie or be disloyal.
Right. And when you're saying that, what comes to mind for me is being loyal to yourself, because we don't look at that, We don't lie to ourselves that, okay, this is working and it's not working. You know what I mean? We don't lie to ourselves saying, trying to fix somebody when they, when it's not our place to fix them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's our place to be loyal to ourselves, to be able to really home in our core values and step
Yep.
forward into those.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. You're a wonderful lady. I wish you all the very best in all that you do. I know you've got more and more things that are on the horizon and things that are coming. So, you are fantastic. So I want to thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
So
much.
again, her website, clarissaburt.com. Go ahead and send her an email at clarissaburt.com. And then, of course, make sure you go out and get that book, which is The Self-Esteem Regime. And I just think you'll be very happy with it. If you immerse yourself in it, take one chapter at a time, it'll change your life. Just like these shows. We always say the shows are changing lives one talk show at a time. I think the chapters would do the same for you. So get through the book, go slowly with it, and just take your time, enjoy it, and learn a lot about yourself along the way. So I think it's great. So thank you so much. We do appreciate you.
So kind. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Okay, you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. We are on newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold. This show is Going Solo, GoodReads, Author's Corner, Meet the Author. I am Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I want to thank you so much for being with us here today. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.